Hello, this is Michelle from Dasami Publishing Limited with yet another episode number 20. And today's subject is going to continue with our educational subject. I am delighted to introduce my guest today, Leah. And Leah is going to say hello and say her last name since Michelle cannot pronounce it. Hello, Leah.
Hi, my name is Leah Austenkemper, and I'm a student from Germany and currently doing an internship at Dasami.
Well, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. I'm really excited about the subject of education. I didn't realize education can be different in so many different countries. Now, obviously, in our last podcast, we discussed Brazil with Isadora. And now I'd like to know, kind of on your journey to Dasami working as an intern, the path that you followed in education. And I know not all of them are the same, but what path was yours?
Yes, so when you're in Germany, you start primary school around like 6 or something like that, and then you go to primary school for 4 years. And at the end of primary school, you have to choose which path you want to go, because there are like 4 different types of high schools in Germany. So it depends of how your grades are, and your teachers kind of like help with the decision, also your parents, and you kind of all decide on which path you'd like to go and which path suits you best and your performance level. And there's like the gymnasium, that's how it's called, which I went to, which is like the highest level of education you can get. And there's also the possibility of doing your A-levels at the end of the gymnasium career you chose, because when you choose to go to one of the other school forms, you're not able to do your A-levels, so you could also go there and then like change to a gymnasium so that you are able to do those A-levels. But if you plan on going to university in the future, you'd have to do your A-levels. So if you're going to like a lower school form, you're only able to do an apprenticeship afterwards, and you're not able to get into uni. So you'd have to have your A-levels for that. Yes, and then high school takes 8 years, and right now they're still working out if it's going to be 8 or 9 years, because it used to be 9 years, and then they decided on 8 years because they wanted to like get students through faster, but they've noticed that it's maybe not the best idea, because everyone's stressing out about school, and it's just really hard to do everything you normally would do in these 9 years to do it in 8 years. Yeah.
So, Leah, when you say there's 4 different paths you can choose, does it divide between, for example, creative and science, or how is it divided up? What are those 4 choices you might have?
It's actually just divided up depending on your performance level, as I said, because in primary school you don't choose which path you want to go, like career-wise, or you can, you're still a child, so you can decide, I want to do something that has to do with science or something more creative. That's what you choose when you are in high school. So it's only like if you're doing a basic education, or if you're maybe if you're doing better at school and you get to a higher high school, if that makes sense.
So if you were not wanting to go on to university and there were apprenticeships,
yes,
in what area might there be apprenticeships that you might go for?
Personally, or?
Yeah, well, just choices from school.
There are all types of apprenticeships you could do, like scientific ones, or something that has to do with the health area, or something in, social work, something like that. And there are so many choices, but I can't really explain, because I've always known that I wanted to attend university, so I never really thought about that. But there are so many different choices you could do apprenticeships, and the special thing about Germany is kind of that there's also a new thing that's called dual studies. So it's a mix between apprenticeship and normal studies at university. So you get the practical experience, but then you also get to study. So you have the theoretical foundation for that.
Excellent. So there are choices that are still available. It's also based on the abilities. So if you do show, some people show more signs for creativity in writing, and then some might be, maths are so easy for them and they want to go on with a scientific background to become a physicist. I would love to be a physicist, but you got to be really bright for that part. So that you work with the teachers and the parents, and then they look at what your abilities are and the natural learning abilities. So on your path, you've gone on to university, and what have you studied there? What have you studied?
I think what you said, that also relates to. In school, you can kind of pick like your advanced classes. So when it comes to your last or second to last year of high school, you get to pick like what kind of area you're most interested in. As you said, like maybe, I don't know, studying languages or doing something that has to do with science and maths and stuff like that. So you get to pick your advanced classes, and this might help you to prepare for university, considering which subject you'd like to continue there. So I, for example, picked English and German as my advanced classes at school, so that kind of helped with my educational path, because I always knew that I wanted to study languages at university as well. So when I got to university in Germany, there's this thing, if you plan on maybe becoming a teacher or you just want to study like two subjects at the same time, it's called a double major bachelor, and you just choose like two subjects you're studying. So I, for example, study English and German, and then I also study Spanish, but that's just because it's an extension subject and I just wanted to do that.
You're just brilliant with languages, as we know, because it's not only German and English and Spanish. I think they call it the dead language when it's not spoken. What is that you know?
Latin,
actually.
Oh,
yes. And it was great because Isadora, although she's from Brazil, she speaks German. So you were, when we met at the cafe the other day, you two were able to converse fluently in German while Michelle just looked on or listened on. But it's wonderful. I do love being around people that are so talented. So the path that took you directly to, so you've been studying languages, what made you decide that you would like to do an internship, and then from Germany to Scotland? I know the journey. How did you? I'm grateful, because that way we've had Journeys with Joy and yet to be disclosed translation that we're going to chat about sometime in the future. But the translation of Journeys with Joy, which is so important to us, and your abilities and capabilities with that. So what brought you here? How did you find Jasami?
Yeah, when you study languages, you obviously also study literature, and I've always been very interested in literature, because I don't know, there are like different parts to studying philology. So there's like the language part and then the literature part, and you can decide as you go on which one you're more interested in. And I've always wanted to do an internship at a publishing company, and in Germany it's very hard to get in because the publishing industry there is just crazy, And then from English studies, I'm also obliged to do an internship abroad. So you have to study abroad or do an internship abroad for at least 12 weeks, so that you are able to get to know an English-speaking country and get to know the different culture, and just like immerse into the culture and get to know the language better. So that was obligatory for me, but I also really wanted to do an internship at a publishing company, because I could have also done a semester of studying abroad, but I really wanted to gain the work experience and to look into a different field, because I'm thinking of becoming a teacher, but I also want to just like be able to find alternatives and see if there are other things that I would be interested in, because I haven't really decided yet. So
well, it's so early to still decide. I mean, I think that when you're going through life and offering different experiences, and that's one reason, as I said yesterday when I was doing an interview, we want to offer as many opportunities to the interns who join us, so that when they walk away, yes, I've done the translation. Yes, I've been to an event at the book festival. Yes, I've been to an event where they're pitching, whether it be on Zoom or in person. So we try to do that, because when you make a choice about something you want to choose as a career, probably for life, you want to have a variety of experiences.
Sure.
So that you make that choice.
Yes.
And that is important, because I love the expression, when you do what you love, you'll never work another day in your life. If we still get paid for it, that's even better, but
Sure. Yes.
but that is. So now I know you wanted to do the publishing, and so you've accomplished both by coming overseas, and then also by doing it with a publishing company.
Yes.
Now, when publishing and studying English, when you're in Scotland, Scottish can be slightly different when you're
Yes.
listening to the language.
I've experienced that.
So, because we've got Aberdonian, Glaswegian, we have Inverness. There's a myriad of different, I won't say dialects, but accents that come with it. And then, of course, you've got the managing director, who, although she has a Canadian accent, everybody else was Scottish. So I do try a wee bit to keep that in there. How have you found the language and the people of Scotland?
Yeah. Can be a little bit hard sometimes, because you've mentioned the accents, and I feel like these are the accents, but there's also like the bus driver accent, which is completely different. Because I feel like that's something in Scottish I can't really understand at all, because whenever I talk to a bus driver, I just have to ask them 3 times, like, oh, what did you say? I don't know. And I feel like in the city it's fine, but if you get to Motherwell, for example, where I live, I don't know, it's just like hard to understand people, because it's not the standard RP English you learn at school and you experience your teachers speaking or your professors at university. It's just, I don't know, so different from that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the language is quite different. How have you found the people to be?
Super nice. I think they're just, I don't know, extremely kind and very helpful. And I don't know, I felt like every time I kind of looked lost, maybe there was someone asking me like, oh, can I help you? Where do you want to go? And
That's something I found even when I've traveled before I moved back home. When we were coming to visit, if you look lost, and especially in Glasgow, people are very, very helpful, because obviously they're wonderful up in Edinburgh as well, but that's more of the city where they have a lot more visitors and such. So we're doing this podcast. It was about the educational system. I say with a heavy heart that Leah will be with us for only a few more weeks.
Aww.
I wished I could just cut up that return card. However, family obligations and other obligations at home. So we won't say, I never say goodbye anyway, so it will always just be cheerio. What is the experience that you think that you're going to walk away with, that you will value most from Dasami?
I think it's just like having gained a deeper insight into a completely different field, because I feel like, as I said, I'm also interested in teaching, but I feel like teaching as a career path is something that's quite transparent, because every one of us has been in school and everyone knows how, at least kind of knows how the job of a teacher works and what they're doing. But I feel like publishing is a field you always hear of, but you never really experienced it yourself. Even if you do work with language or with literature at university, that's something completely different, and it's something super theoretical and academical. So it's nice to have a deeper understanding of that.
The practical aspects of
Yes.
it, and that is what's different, is that you can study and it will be, yes, as we were saying about the experience with it, is when it's theoretical, when you go to school you're learning, and then it's putting that knowledge into practical use.
True.
And when you're doing that and applying that knowledge, it can be quite different, and that's in every single subject and such, when it comes to computers or people or publishing or whatever it might be.
Yes.
That is the common basic in life, is taking that knowledge, but it's applying it, and that is what gives the interns the experience. So yes, I've applied that knowledge, I've actually done it, so they can go on and to another company and say, yes, I've done this, I have the experience, here's the qualification, and then you can decide what you're going to do. So thank you very much for joining us today, Leah. I appreciate it.
Thanks again for having me.
And as we always do, we have a little shout out to someone that we want to have to acknowledge. So who is your shout out today to? For anyone, family member, doesn't have to be a family member, can be any person that you just say, hi.
I'm going to say hi to my friend Charlotte, who is a real bookworm, and she's super excited, and she was the first person to tell me I'm going to listen to that podcast. So
Excellent, wonderful. I'm delighted to hear that. My shout out to, in particular, is I've got 2 new interns who have joined us, Aria and Douglas, and I'm looking forward to working with them. They have a special project, the cookbook that we're working on, that is coming out shortly. So my shout out is to them, to thank them for all their hard work so far. And then I would also like to thank you, Leah, for joining us at Jasami and being such an integral part of our company for this period of time. So again, this is Michelle at Jasami Bookworm, and I thank you for joining us in another episode. We have one coming up shortly that is definitely a subject we want to chat about. It's going to be advertised on our affiliates page, so you'll get a little heads up. I'm not going to tell you what it is now. You'll just have to listen in. So as always, I wish you a sunny day.